So I didn't have my dinner ready, and I kind of needed something for the week that was easy and hot because we're planting trees this week. And when I say we're planting trees, we're planting 500 trees this week. I'll tell you more about that later. So I'm making a split pea soup. And for those of you who are new and trying to master some kind of hearty soups, split pea is a great one. And if you're like, oh, I don't like split pea soup, I think you'll like my split pea soup. Or if you're like, I'm vegetarian or I don't eat pork, again, I've got soup here for you. So let me tell you a little bit about what I'm doing. First of all, the pea soup I'm making is based on a recipe. First, split pea soup is so easy, and there's so many different recipes. But the base of my recipe is from Cynthia Lair's cookbook, Feeding the Whole Family, which I use a lot. And that recipe that I have used in the past, like a lot of her recipes, it's 100% vegetarian, which is so weird about pea soup because it usually has ham hocks in it. This one is a vegetarian one, and I am actually going to add a little bit of bacon for flavor, but you don't have to. If you do it the way I'm showing you, it is going to taste great without bacon. Yeah, but I have a little bacon, so I'm going to add a tiny bit. So, onions. Now the different thing that I'm going to do with this one that I don't do with others is I'm not going to add salt to the vegetables that are sauteing. And this is why. First, the reason I usually add salt to my onions, and every time I add a vegetable I add another bit of salt, is I'm using the salt to draw the liquid, the water, out of the cells of the vegetables, and that helps the vegetables break down and get mushy, release their contents into the soup, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to do that because I think the peas cook better without salt, and I add salt at the end. And I'm going to pressure cook this. I know, pressure cooking is so awesome. I'm going to pressure cook this, and then I'm going to blend it up at the end, which also gives us a little more convenience. So you saw when I cut up those onions, oh my God, my eyes are stinging. When I cut up the onions, they were really, they're big. It's because I don't care about the shape of the vegetables because I'm going to blend this up. So this is where, you know, if you're in a hurry, God, you're strong. If you're in a hurry or don't have good knife skills or whatever, this is a great one for you. Blended soups are fab for that. This time of year, the onions are super strong because, I wasn't going to talk about this, storage onions, the onions that you grow, pull up at the end of the summer, and then store all winter long, the ones that store the best are the really strong ones. It goes hand in hand. So all the onions that are in the stores right now are incredibly strong. All right. And if you want a tip, if you have to cut up a lot of onions and you hate it that it does that, swim goggles are the best. Any kind of swim goggles or ski goggles or something will keep that out of your eyes. The kitchen I used to work at, when I worked on a farm and ran a processing kitchen, we would do like prep days where we just chop up, peel, and prep just pounds and pounds of onions at a time. And we always had swim goggles hanging in the processing room just for that. And we go swimming at lunchtime too. So, time tested. So I'm going to do onions, carrots, and celery. And again, I just have the hearts of some celeries that I had left. And I'm not even going to take them apart. I'm just going to do a rough chop of those celery. And, you can get a lot of vegetables in your pea soup. So onions, carrots, and celery. I've got not my best looking onions or carrots. Do the same thing with my carrots. Just doing a rough chop. The only part that's not going to go in is that, the stem end. Because it's going to be pressure cooked within an inch of its life. All right. Some people will do a pea soup in a crock pot or something else, and you can do that too if you want to do it overnight. But typically when I'm making a pea soup, it's because I haven't planned a meal, I haven't soaked or thawed anything, and I need to have something nutritious quickly. And using a pressure cooker is how I do this. If you're an Instapot person, I'm not an Instapot person, I just use a regular pressure cooker. You can do that in an Instapot. I'm 100% certain. All right, so I'm letting that saute. And then I have one more thing I'm going to cut up, and it's a kind of small to medium-sized potato, and this gives it more of that starchy, holds it together body. Sometimes I use a small sweet potato. It gives, it's more beta carotene. It makes it sweeter. Like last time I made it, I used a whole kind of medium-sized sweet potato that I peeled and cut up and threw in there. And the pea soup was actually sweet. It gave it that much flavor. But I just roasted a bunch of sweet potatoes last night. I'll probably, reheat them up for dinner tonight. So that's not a sweet potato. So I'm just going to cut up one potato. We're going to make this easy. What else am I going to do? Oh, I'm going to heat up some water to make this extra quick. Actually, let's take the potatoes out. We'll put them in at the end because I don't need to fry potatoes. And then I'm going to show you the spice mix I'm going to use. And the spices are important if you're not going to use ham hocks or bacon, because you could still use ham hocks with this recipe. All right, let me get my spices out. I'm going to use cumin, and I'm going to use dill. Oh, that's right. I couldn't find my dill last week. I think I lost my dill container. I was making salmon, and I used dill, and now I've lost it. I'll make it work. Okay. Usually I use dill, but I use it at the end. So here's the ingredients. Onions, carrots, celery, saute them, and then cut up a potato or a sweet potato. Ooh, almost forgot. I'm going to throw in some bacon. And you could use this completely vegetarian, and I'll give you an extra cheat for that one, for flavor. You could throw in a ham hock. You could throw in a meaty ham bone. And when I say a meaty ham bone, it means you've cooked a ham, you've eaten the ham, you have a bone left over, and you left lots of meat on that bone, and you stuck it in a Ziploc bag and put it in the freezer for the next time you made a bean soup, because that's what you do. Like my mother will go to people's houses and bring home their ham bone because she's concerned they're not going to use it. She will use it. That's it. I use bacon the way you would use a bay leaf. If I had been thinking ahead, which I'm not today, clearly, I would have chopped up that bacon and put it in with my onion so that it could cook a little bit more. That's it. I don't use bacon as protein. I use it like a bay leaf. It's flavor. Okay. Now, I'm going to add cumin. Cumin is a great spice for this, and it is part of, if you're not going to use any ham or bacon or ham hock, this is how you're going to get a nice, flavorful, smoky taste. You are going to use cumin, and I just put in like a tablespoon of cumin. And then, when I'm out of it, you're going to put in about 2 inches of kombu, and that's sea kelp. You remember kombu has, it's really rich in trace minerals from the ocean, but it also has glutamate in it, which is like what's MSG or Parmesan. It's that super umami flavor. It will give it so much flavor. So flavor and nutrition, like why not buy some kombu? So you're going to put kombu in there anytime now. I'm just frying those spices. And then, secret ingredient, I'm going to put in my potatoes that don't need to fry. If I was giving this more love, I would fry it more, but I need to get this going. And I'm putting in 1 cup of dried split peas. So all this is for 1 cup of dried split peas. And then I'm going to add about 4 or 5 cups of water. And just to be quick, I already heated some water up in my kettle because, again, this is kind of a last-minute thing. And I feel like I can ballpark my 4 or 5 cups of water. I need a little bit more. I'm only free pouring all of this because I use this container for the soup all the time, and I know what it's going to look like. There. Now I'm going to put my lid on. Bring it up to pressure. I'm going to turn the heat up, lid on, up to pressure, and then I'll level it out and let it cook for, I think, 12 to 15 minutes. And then I'll release the pressure. Then here's the good stuff. After I release the pressure and the soup is cooked, when beans are cooked, I need to put a bay leaf in it. Hang on. See? That's the other thing. And when I put a bay leaf, I'm going to put 2 bay leaves. I'm going to put big ones in there. Yes, I have a huge bag of bay leaves. Because I want to be able to fish them out and not blend them. So 1, 2. And remember that I put 2 in there. Get them both out. Okay. So again, pressure on, decline calm. Okay, that's going to come up to pressure, under pressure for like 12 minutes, and then take it off the heat, let it depressurize, and then while it's hot, I'm going to add a teaspoon of salt, and with the caveat that if I put ham hocks in here, they're going to have enough salt for the soup, so I probably don't need any salt at all if I used ham hocks. But because I only used a little bit of bacon, I'm going to need a whole teaspoon of salt for that. And I'm going to put in about half a teaspoon of dried dill. That's optional. I think it's great. And that's from the recipe from Cynthia Lair. And then I'm going to put in, I have a little frostbite, I'm going to put in about a cup or so of frozen peas. And frozen peas are so good. It just gives it a more of a fresh pea taste. I love it. And then I'm going to get my immersion blender and there, soup. So what, this took me, how long have I been going? 5 minutes? So 5 minutes, getting things together. This will take about 15 minutes to come up to pressure and cook. And then take it off, another 5 minutes of adding those other things and blending it up. So I could have all this done in, I can't do math, online. What, 30, 45 minutes? You'll have soup. So in this amount of time, this is when I would clear up, make a salad. You know, you could have a little bread with it if you want to, but this is great. And I know if you're watching your blood sugar, you know, peas, any kind of legumes like this, they have starches in them, so it will cause a rise in your blood sugar. But for most people, you know, legumes like split peas, lentils, and beans, they are super high in fiber, and they have protein in them. So for most people, even though you do see a rise in the blood sugar, it's a healthy rise in blood sugar, and you're nourishing the microbiome. So except for the people who are really, really sensitive, some people, their diabetes, they just cannot handle it. But for the most part, you can. And it's really good fiber, helps with the bowels, microbiome, and all that stuff. And, you know, if you don't know what you can handle in terms of food, that's when you use a continuous glucose monitor and find out. So you don't have to just guess what you should be eating. You can actually test it. Okay, I think that's it. This is going to take a while. I'm not going to have you sit through this, but this is my basic split pea soup. Again, I got the base recipe from Cynthia Lair's cookbook, Feeding the Whole Family. Maybe I'll make a point of putting a link to that because I love her book. She's a great mentor of mine, and I love her cookbooks. Yeah, and don't forget that secret ingredient of fresh peas and the kombu if you're not using bacon or the ham hocks. Let me know if you make it. Bye.